Hey there everyone, time for my first iPad app review. Now, as I said, I've gained one of these puppies over the past couple of months that I haven't been doing my app reviews, and I figured I'd let you guys in on some of the apps that I find extraordinarily useful on this thing. I've been using it for a podcasting tool for a lot, and I will get into a soundboard app later on. But first, considering I covered Flipboard and its move to the iPod Touch and all the other ones recently, I figured I would give you guys a look into the app I use a lot for actually reading my feeds, and I run Google Reader through it. In fact, strangely enough, the app is called Reader with 2 E's. Figure that Web 2.0 out. But either way, that's what I'm covering this week on my first iPad app review. Okay, as I said, I'm reviewing Reader, and this is my layout for my iPad. You'll notice, as I do on my iPod, I have a lot of folders. Pardon me. That's something that I tend to do in all my iOS devices, is that I like to make folders. Now in this case, we're covering Reader, so let me open up my news folder. And this is the main thing that I use to read through all of the feeds that I've got. Because I do samcast, I have quite a lot of feeds in my Google Reader. And despite new interface changes or not, it still is very difficult to go through all of those on a traditional computer interface. That's why a lot of people don't even fiddle with that many spots, because they know that it's just darn difficult. Now, this has already done this a while ago, so it won't do it now, but normally whenever you open up Reader, it will go through your feeds if it's been long enough since you last opened the app, and go through them all, making sure it sees what posts are there and will completely sync it up so you only have your new feed showing. What's great with this is that it shows it in this interface of these little squares. And if there is no new stories in a feed, that square will vanish. And that's a great organizational tool. It means you don't have a bunch of squares that don't belong there. They just vanish if they don't need to be there. Now let's say I want to check out a story on Lifehacker. That's a good section here, and ignore the dog crunching her dog food. She's been trying to make this difficult for me tonight, I think. But say I want to look up how to sync documents and other files to iOS without iTunes. That's very topical now, right? So if I click this, it will show it in a feed view, which is what you would get through any RSS feed reader, rather. I just tried to morph those two words. And it won't give you the entire article on most of these views. A lot of feeds don't, although some are getting better and actually will give you those. But you can go ahead and click through, and if you give it a bit, it will load the web page. It doesn't take that long. Normally, with my connection it varies. Okay, and here we are loaded up. Now the big thing I like about this, and I don't use it to share to my social networks that much, but it does have a lot of options. The sharing options are insane. Some of these I have never even heard of before and have not thought to look up. But you've got things like Delicious and Pinboard, which are two bookmarking platforms. You've got Zootool, Instapaper, Read It Later, which happens to be my weapon of choice, if you will, in that metaphor. Readability, Evernote. You can also share the links to Twitter and Facebook. You can open it up in Safari. You can copy the links, mail the links, and then use Mobilizer as well with it. So all in all, it's got a pretty robust set of social network and other options. And like I said, most of these apps now that I do read feeds in, I like the Read It Later integration. And I don't find that in every app, but I do find it in this app, and it is invaluable to me. Because then anything I find on this, I can transfer it over to my computer, which will then make it easier for me to put into the dock for all of the Samcast crew to take a look at. You can move this over this way, and it will mark it as unread because I haven't I'll read that later though. It's actually a good one. Or you can even favorite it by swiping it over that way, but I won't do that right now. So just mark that as unread. Now, I usually use it in portrait mode like this. You can use this in landscape mode and it will give you a different type of interface, but I really like it this way, holding it kind of like your classic magazine is great in my opinion. This thing has helped me with reading a lot of feeds, and you may not be as obsessed about feeds as I am because you may not have a podcast to cover things, but still, if you do happen to follow a lot of websites and you're finding it just a bit tedious with certain other things, I would definitely recommend you give Reader a try. It's a couple of bucks, you know, iPad apps are more expensive than iPod apps, obviously, but considering the amount of usage I have gotten out of this app, it has been well worth it, and you know what a tightwad I am, or at least I hope you do. So, that's it. Reader, spelled with 2 E's. Hope you guys liked the review. Now, if you do happen to have an iPad and you want this app, you can follow the link right below where this video will be at tscn.tv. By all means, if you guys are on iOS, follow me on my crosswalk that I've got set up, and I will give you the link to that right below here. I've shortened it because the crosswalk has a bit of a long URL, so I figured I'd make it easier and just shorten it for you guys. Makes it easier to find. And if you guys want to follow me, well, anywhere, go to friendfeed.com/labtech7, and I've got all of my feeds there, and I'm on Twitter at labtech7 as well. So, until next time when I do another app review, see you guys.